Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, Gardening in Cold Spring Harbor. I hope all of you are staying safe and warm. If you're new to my gardening channel, I'm in Long Island, New York, Zone 7A. Roses are a beautiful addition to any home garden or any garden landscape. However, unfortunately, they are prone to disease and pests. If you're watching this video, then you're most likely already dealing with one disease or another on your rose shrubs. In today's video, I'm going to go over 8 most common diseases associated with rose plants or rose shrubs. We're going to talk about what each disease looks like so that you can properly and correctly treat it. Correct identification of the disease on your rose plants is the best way to find the correct and the most accurate treatment. So your rose shrubs can recover, can heal, and you can keep those diseases out and away from your home gardens once and for all. So for those of you looking for that online gardening channel, which offers tips, tricks, easy yet proven gardening advice to take your home gardens to that next level, don't go anywhere, guys. Stick around with me today. It's about going below this video and clicking the subscribe button. Don't forget to click the bell icon as well if you want YouTube to send you notifications every single time I'll upload a new garden video. Now come with me. Let's get gardening. Fungal diseases top the list of rose ailments, starting with black spot disease, which is probably the most common fungal disease associated with our rose plants or rose shrubs. And black spot disease is quite easy to spot and identify. Black spot, which you're clearly seeing on this leaf right over here. It is a very common and a very serious disease. Black spot is caused by fungus and it's very easy to spot. Initial signs are small black spots on the lower leaves of your rose shrub. So it always starts from the bottom of the shrub and if untreated works its way all the way up to the upper portion of the shrub. Then the black or the dark brown spots which you're seeing will be surrounded with yellow areas, which you're clearly seeing right over here. Here is what an impacted leaf looks like with black spot fungal disease. If left untreated, black spot will work its way from the bottom end of your plant all the way up, hence causing the leaves to drop. If you leave this disease untreated, you will end up defoliating your entire rose shrub. The leaves, new leaves may grow back. However, if that keeps happening, it's going to leave your entire rose plant, your rose shrub, weakened. Black spots occur in humid weather. So the first step if you see black spot disease is to diligently and thoroughly remove any and all of the impacted leaves. Never leave them underneath your plant. Always discard of them accordingly. Always remember, my fellow home gardeners, that fungal spores can overwinter in fallen leaves. So clean all of them up accordingly. Because black spot is a fungal disease, you can help avoid the spread by keeping the leaves or the foliage of your rose plant nice and dry. So when watering our rose plants or rose shrubs, always try to water them from below at soil surface level, never using a sprinkler and watering up from above. Also, after you have removed any and all of the diseased impacted foliage, make sure to thoroughly spray your entire rose plant, even the soil surface below your rose plant, with a fungicide. There are various fungicides available on the market in garden centers, in big box stores, even online on Amazon. I'm going to link some below in the comment section for those of you who are interested in seeing what I use in my own home, garden. Late fall or early winter season, when you're finally ready to prune your rose plants, make sure that you cut off and discard of any impacted canes. How do you know that those canes were impacted by black spot? You will know because you're going to see dark colored lesion on your rose plants canes. Cut them off and discard of them accordingly. What is that disease number 2? Common disease that affects and impacts our rose plants or rose shrubs. That second most common disease is called powdery mildew. So what does powdery mildew disease look like? How can you correctly identify it, hence correctly treat it? Powdery mildew makes the leaves, the shoots, and even the buds of your rose plant look like they have been dusted with talcum powder. So you're going to see white colored powdery residue spread across the leaves, the buds, even the canes of your rose plant. Powdery mildew may affect the appearance of your roses plant's foliage, as well as distort the appearance of your rose blooms. Let me get in a bit closer, zoom in guys, and show you what powdery mildew looks like. Can you see these white little specks right here on the leaves of my rose shrub? There is yet another example right over here. And you could see that every impacted leaf is getting misshapen and distorted. You could see that the leaves look shriveled up and dried. There is yet another example of powdery mildew. You could see the tiny little white colored specks on the leaves of this rose shrub. Powdery mildew occurs when temperatures are indeed cool and mild, yet the nights are humid. So what do you do if you notice that your rose plant has indeed been impacted by powdery mildew? Just like with black spot disease, you will have to remove any and all of the impacted leaves and discard of them accordingly. After that first step, you will need to treat your entire plant as well as the soil surface below the rose plant with fungicide. Let's move on right along and talk about that third common disease which can impact and attack our rose plants. This disease happens to be spread by 9 various fungal pathogens. And this disease, this third common disease, is called rose rust, and you could see it right over here. Rose rust is a disease that is caused by 9 different species of fungi. So yes, rose rust is a fungal disease. All of these 9 species of fungi will cause orange colored, rusty looking spots on the leaves as well as the canes of your rose plant, and you could see them right over here on the cane and right over here on the foliage. Rose rust unfortunately overwinters in the canes as well as the leaf debris on the trellises, especially on the fences as well. What can you do, my fellow home gardeners, if you want to avoid rose rust disease at all costs? First and foremost, make sure that you plant your rose shrubs at least a few feet apart. Why? Because you want to allow for maximal air circulation. What do you do if you have noticed that your rose is being affected, impacted by rose rust fungal disease? First step, very important step, is to remove any and all of the foliage which has clearly been impacted. And if you turn the leaves around, you could clearly see the rust disease on the back of the foliage as well, right over there. Looks like orange colored specks all over the foliage. What do you do with this foliage? You never ever compost it, guys. You always discard of it accordingly. I know it might look like a tedious job to sit here and to go through every single leaf, but at the end of the day, it's going to be so worth it. If any of these leaves fall to the ground below your rose plant to the soil level, make sure you pick each and every single one of them up and get rid of them as well. What is that? Step number 2. After you've removed any and all of the impacted foliage, the next step is to thoroughly spray your entire rose plant with fungicide. Now, many of you, my fellow home gardeners, might ask me why, after spending this entire time taking off, removing the infected foliage, why now we should spray it with fungicide, copper fungicide. And answer to that question is because by spraying your entire rose shrub with copper fungicide as a form of preventative measure, you're going to help prevent rose rust disease from coming back and attacking your beautiful rose shrub ever again. Let's move on to disease number 4. That fourth disease that can easily affect and impact our rose plants is called Botrytis blight. And let me show you and explain to you what that disease is and exactly what that disease looks like. Botrytis blight is a beige or more commonly gray colored mold that attacks the blossoms of your rose plants. Yes, unlike many other diseases that tend to attack the foliage of the rose plants, Botrytis blight covers the petals of our rose blooms with brown or brownish colored fuzz. Also, it can attack the flower buds as well. So how did Botrytis blight end up in your beautiful home, your home garden? Botrytis blight is fostered by hot and humid summers, as well as the use of high nitrogen fertilizers. Rose plants, rose shrubs, rose trees, climbing roses all need to be fertilized throughout the growing season. However, we should be very careful when deciding what fertilizer to use. I always highly recommend using fertilizers which are specifically designed, formulated for rose care. You never want to use the wrong fertilizer, especially fertilizer that is super high in nitrogen composition, as that indeed can also lead to Botrytis blight. Also, one of the best way to avoid blight altogether is to prune off and dispose of all faded blossoms and blooms. Also, when watering, as I always say, avoid getting the foliage wet. Always water from below the plant at soil surface. The next disease that is commonly associated with rose plants or rose shrubs, disease number 5, is called Downy mildew. Downy mildew is a fungal disease that is associated with fungal pathogens. Downy mildew thrives in cool, damp weather, especially in greenhouses as well as nurseries. Resembling black spots, downy mildew always starts with yellow or dark brown spots on the foliage of your rose shrub. However, unlike black spot, which always starts off at the very bottom of your rose plant, downy mildew always starts at the very top of your rose shrub and works its way down towards the ground. If your rose plant has been infected with downy mildew disease, You will never find the spots randomly scattered around the foliage of your rose plant. You will almost always see the spots align along the veins on the leaves of your rose plant. You could see the tiny little veins right over here, and you could see how the spots perfectly align along these veins. Downy mildew only starts off with these yellow or brown colored spots along the veins of your rose plant's leaves or foliage. Over time, the impacted leaf will start to turn dark brown or even black color entirely and will fall off your plant. If you turn the impacted leaf around to the underside, you are going to see either white or gray colored spores. What are these spores? These are the reproductive structures of downy mildew right on the underside of the leaf. So how do you get these spores? How do you get this disease? This disease spreads from water splashing from one impacted plant onto another. So how can you treat or even prevent downy mildew? First and foremost, you must always remove and discard any impacted leaf, any impacted foliage. Never compost it. Always either throw it out or burn it. Second of all, always make sure to space your rose shrubs accordingly. And always water your rose shrubs from below. Never overhead from the top. Possible disease number 6 associated with our rose plants or rose shrubs. That disease is stem canker. Stem canker can and will affect your rose shrubs if your rose shrubs have been wounded during the pruning process. Maybe you haven't correctly pruned your rose shrubs, hence causing the canes or the stems of your rose shrubs to rub against each other. Hence, again, causing a wound on the stem. Insects as well as damage during the winter months can also contribute and lead to stem canker. Let me show you exactly what stem canker looks like. I have a quite large rose shrub right over here behind me. And if you look closely, right on this stem or this cane, you could see this dark brown color spot. That is stem canker. There's yet another very clear example of what a stem canker looks like. This dark brown spot over here. Stem canker does not necessarily have to be black or dark brown in color. It can also be beige, dark gray in coloring as well. If the canes of your rose shrub got injured, damaged anytime during its growing phase, various fungi will colonize and infect that wound. Also, if you are not properly cleaning, not properly sterilizing your pruning shears at the time of the pruning process, that can also lead to this disease. Always sterilize your pruning shears with either rubbing alcohol or even hydrogen peroxide before you decide to prune or trim your rose shrubs. Stem canker looks like wrinkled, cracked lesions on the canes of your rose shrub or your rose plant. Canker can vary anywhere from yellow color to tan color, dark brown, or even black. Unfortunately, cane canker disease can spread, and if you allow it to spread all the way to the bottom of your rose shrub, to the crown of your rose shrub, it will harm the entire rose plant. So how can you treat or even prevent stem canker? Unfortunately, there is no known chemical treatment for stem canker. However, one way, easy way, you can avoid stem canker is to always clean and sterilize your pruning shears at the time when you're pruning your rose trees or your rose shrubs. If stem canker has already unfortunately impacted your rose plant or your rose shrub, one way to treat it, to get rid of it, is to prune off that cane, the impacted cane. Where do you prune it? You prune about 5 inches or so below the stem canker, and you discard of that cane accordingly. You don't compost it. You either throw it out or you burn it. What is that? Common disease number 7 that's associated with rose plants or rose shrubs. That disease number 7 is actually a viral disease. This disease is called rose mosaic virus. This viral disease happens to impact the coloring of our rose plants, leaves, or foliage. Come with me, let me show you exactly what the rose mosaic virus looks like. Right over here, guys, if I zoom in closely, you could see the unusual yellow colored patterns on the foliage. Leaves may appear to be spotted or have squiggly lines. How does rose mosaic virus end up in your home garden, and now it is impacting your rose plant? Rose mosaic virus spreads by insects as well as infected cuttings, as well as infected grafts. So if you purchased a rose plant which already had an impacted, affected graft, you will unfortunately bring this virus back to your home garden. Fortunately, this virus, unlike many others which we spoke about today, will not kill off your entire rose. I repeat, will not kill it off. However, at the same time, this virus cannot be cured. Whether you will cut off the leaves, whether you will spray your plant with treatments, chemicals, this virus will come back over and over. So what can you do? What should you do if you see that your roses have been impacted by rose mosaic virus? If your rose plant, besides the variegated coloring of the foliage, looks absolutely healthy, absolutely happy, leave it alone. Do not dig it up. Do not discard of it, as this virus will not spread onto nearing rose shrubs. It will stay specifically on that one particular rose. So if you're happy with the way your rose shrub looks, let it be, my fellow home gardeners, and enjoy the beautiful fragrant blooms. Now let's talk about the anthracnose leaf spot disease. That disease is the 8th most common disease which impacts our rose plants in our homes, our home gardens. Very similar to black spot disease. However, the anthracnose leaf spot primarily and more commonly affects climbing roses. So let's come right over here and take a closer look at one of my climbing roses, so I could show you exactly what anthracnose leaf spot looks like, so you, my fellow home gardeners, can more quickly and more efficiently identify it and tackle it head on. Here is a close-up of what the anthracnose leaf spot looks like. If your rose shrub or your climbing rose, like I have right over here, which is, by the way, an absolute gorgeous fragrant bloom, has indeed been impacted by the anthracnose leaf spot, what you're going to notice these small reddish to tan to brown spots all along the leaves of your rose plant. Each of these spots, whether they are reddish or tan in color, will be encircled with black or dark brown circle, like so, right over there. This disease looks similar to black spot. However, as I mentioned previously, climbing roses are indeed more susceptible to this disease compared to other rose plants. If you leave this disease ongoing and untreated, it will lead to complete defoliation of your climbing rose or your plant. You must prune or remove any of affected foliage. Dispose of this damaged, affected foliage. The rest of the plant can remain and stay healthy once the entire infection has been diligently removed. So yes, my fellow home gardeners, it might take some time for you to sit here and remove all of these leaves, but look how unsightly they look from the get-go. And you're going to make your rose so much healthier and so much happier if you remove all of this diseased, sick foliage. You will need to treat your entire rose plant, your entire climbing rose, with fungicidal spray as a form of future prevention. This is it for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me here today in my home garden. In today's video, we spoke about 8 most common diseases associated with our rose plants, rose shrubs. If you enjoyed the content of today's video, if you found today's video to be useful, helpful, informative, in absolutely any way, don't be shy, guys. Super easy for you to do, super pleasing and rewarding to me. Show me that support by clicking thumbs up below. Leave your comments in the comments section as well. Let me know, do you grow roses or rose shrubs in your home garden? If so, have you had to deal with any of the diseases that we spoke about in today's video? For those of you who haven't yet subscribed to my gardening channel, Gardening in Cold Spring Harbor, what are you waiting for, guys? Super easy for you to do, super pleasing, super rewarding to me. Just go below this video and click the subscribe button. For those of you who enjoy the content of my garden videos and you want YouTube to send you notifications every single time I'll upload a new garden video, click the bell icon as well. Stay healthy, happy, be well, each and every single one of you, my fellow home gardeners. And happy gardening, and I'll see you again in my new upcoming gardening videos. Bye, guys.